Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's your old pal, Mr. Butter, coming back at you again. I started to shoot this outside and the wind was just not cooperating. The weather's been crazy. If it ain't snowing, it's raining. If it's not raining, then we got 50-mile-an-hour wind outside. So anyway, I had to move it in, but I am happy to be back here with y'all. The weekend's almost here. Thank goodness for that. And I always appreciate y'all tuning in. Recently, with all the attention that the Galaxy Foamposites have been getting, it really got me to start kind of concentrating on that silhouette. I had never owned that silhouette before until very recently. I actually picked up my first pair of Foamposites. Today I want to talk about the upcoming Galaxy Foam release and also share with you all my first pickup of this silhouette. If you're into kicks and you feel like hanging out, then hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about the upcoming release and take a look at my first Foamposite pickup. A lot of times whenever you think about a specific silhouette, your mind just automatically thinks about one player. And I think if you were around in the 90s and you hear of the Foamposite being brought up, you probably think about one player immediately, and that's Anthony Hardaway, also known as Penny Hardaway. He was first drafted, I believe, in '93. It was in the same group that Chris Webber was, and the reason why I always remember that was because Chris Webber came from Michigan. He had that infamous timeout call when they were playing the Tar Heels for the championship.
Michigan have to bring it.
He walked and the referee missed it.
Webber brings it into the front court. They have no timeouts remaining.
He causes too many timeouts. That's a technical foul.
He called a timeout. Michigan doesn't have any.
He got by with a walk, and Jimmy calls a he calls a timeout. He doesn't realize that's Michigan's too many, and so it'll be a technical foul. North Carolina shooting and the ball.
I think there was like 10 seconds left and Michigan was only down by like 2 points or something. But because he called that timeout whenever they had already used them all, it was a technical. It gave the Tar Heels 2 shots and then the ball back. And I think they extended their lead to like 4 or 5 points, whatever it was. They made it so that it wasn't a 1-score game anymore. And it basically secured the victory for the Tar Heels. Despite that major mess up in the national championship, Chris Webber still went on to be the #1 draft that year in the NBA draft. And I think Penny was either 3 or 4. He wasn't first. But Chris Webber was drafted to Orlando, and then I think Anthony Hardaway went to Golden State. I guess the Orlando Magic kind of realized that he would be a great matchup with Shaq, and somehow Anthony Hardaway ended up going to the Orlando Magic. Whenever you think of Anthony Hardaway's career, even though he played with other teams, you most likely think of him playing with the Orlando Magic. It's a lot like Jordan and the Bulls. Even though Jordan went to the Wizards after he came out of retirement and he was wearing that number 45, he spent most of his time with the Bulls. That's where all his championships were. When I think of Michael Jordan playing, it's rare that I think of him playing anywhere else aside from Chicago. I would have to look at the stats, but even though Chris Webber got drafted first in that draft class, it does seem like Anthony Hardaway had a more noticeable career. Maybe he just got more attention and recognition, but Penny was kind of one of those players that had a really cool style to him, and just the team up of him and Shaq, it was fun to watch. It was really cool. Anthony Hardaway went on to have a bunch of his own signature sneakers, but the Foamposite didn't come until later, and I actually saw a cool interview where it sounded like the Foamposite was initially meant to be Scottie Pippen's signature shoe. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what all there is to that backstory, but I think Penny Hardaway saw the prototype or saw the sample and was like, what is that? Before Scottie Pippen ever got a chance to see it. And they ended up giving that silhouette to Anthony Hardaway. The Foamposites originally came out in '97. I was a sophomore in high school at the time. I guess if we think about it in comparison to the Jordan timeline, that would have been when the Jordan 13s were coming out. I still remember a guy named Jordan Hamilton came in with the 13s. It was the first time that I saw the 13s, and I remember that cat eye on the side just thinking like, man, that is incredible. All that being said, I was kind of getting into my hippie phase, music phase, that sort of thing, and basketball sneakers weren't really part of my rotation anymore, so I really wasn't grabbing them like that. So that makes sense of why I never really grabbed a Foamposite. And for me, I remember people wearing them. I remember the advertising and that sort of thing, but it just wasn't really something that I ever wore at that time. So there's not a whole lot of nostalgia that goes along with it, aside from watching Anthony play in them or seeing my friends wear them, that sort of thing. Fast forward to now, of course, we've got the Galaxy Foamposites releasing very soon. I believe they are set to release on the Sneakers app on Friday, February 21st. And I forget what the retail price on them is. They're expensive. They've always been expensive. But a lot of people are saying, oh, this is a must. This is a must. I have a really good buddy that I played ball with and used to go to the gym with. Whenever we worked on site and we had a gym there, we'd always exercise together and stuff. But he's become one of my good friends. We shoot guns together and that kind of stuff. But he is very, very into the Foamposites. He's been into Foamposites since they first dropped. He had the first Galaxy foam, so he's really hoping to be able to get these Foamposites whenever they release. He really has an insane collection, and I ended up acquiring my pair from his collection, and I think I got a good deal on them, but we'll get more into that here in a second. I always thought the Foamposites were pretty crazy looking. I wasn't sure if they'd go with my style or not. I have tried this pair on, and I actually really like the way that they look. They're different than everything else in my collection, and I really like that. I will be going for the Galaxy Foamposites whenever they drop on the 21st. Let me know if y'all are going to be trying to get them or if it's a pass for you. So with all the yapping out of the way, let's go ahead and get to my pickup. You might think that this is a ridiculously big box, and you are absolutely correct. This is actually the Shooting Stars pack. You can see it's a black box, but in glossy print, it's got all these images of Anthony Hardaway, and it even has like an outline of Little Penny as well. That was one of the marketing tools that Nike used, and he was absolutely hilarious. If you don't remember him or you've never seen Little Penny, it was actually the voice of Chris Rock. And he was just always partying, always causing trouble. And it was kind of like Anthony Hardaway's alter ego, if you will.
I give interview. You know what your problem is? You're too much. Hey, I give good quotes. And you can print that on the front page. Anthony Hardaway, best player in basketball, guarantees championship. Guaranteed.
You can't say stuff like that.
Let me just tell you,
right.
I'm an integral part of the Magic organization. Now, Penny is the team leader, but I'm the choreographer for the Magic dance. Get you a job if you want. Hey, ooh, whoa, Penny, stop the car. That was Tyra Banks.
The cell phone really looks huge, and that's the way it was whenever they first came out. The tag just says Nike Shooting Stars, and I think when these first came out in 2014, they had a retail price of $500 US. So that's pretty steep. Hopefully the glare on there isn't too bad, but when you open the box, it says, "You guys remind me of my shoe closet. I got 2 pennies and a bunch of loafers." And then it's signed by Little Penny. In the box, we have the pair of Foamposites there to your right. And as you're looking at it to your left, then you'll see the pair of Little Pennies that came along with it. I've tried the Foamposites on and I love the way they look. I think they'll be pretty easy to match to my wardrobe. Well, I could yap on forever, but here is my first pair of Nike Foamposites, and I think they are
absolutely beautiful.
This pair was actually first seen on Penny Hardaway, I think in an all-star game, and it was a PE, so it was a player exclusive. These weren't available to the public. It's pretty clean, with it being primarily white or else kind of like a mother of pearl and then black and blue. I really just think that this is one of the most wearable Foamposites I've ever seen. I also like the fact that you don't see anybody wearing these. Maybe that's because they came out over a decade ago now, but I just like that it's something different. It's way different than anything else I have in my collection, especially because it's my first pair of Foamposites ever. But I also just think that throw these on with some baggy jeans or something, and I think it's going to look great. It really blows my mind how these still seem so futuristic, even though they came out in '97. And really, I think that's what I'm always looking for, is just for a timeless type of design that you can wear through the ages. And it's never really going to get old. It's never going to get boring. But I really, really am feeling these. I see why people are so loyal to these, and I see why there's such a devoted group of Foamposite heads, because these things are absolutely amazing in my opinion. My buddy actually grabbed these in 2014, and he's never worn them. I think he tried them on, but they may have been tight. He wears a size 11, and I'm a 10 or a 10 and a half. He never really wore them, and he was worried that they might just start falling apart. So I ended up spending $250 for this whole pack, but it's all dead stock. And for the time being, it seems like the outsoles are still nicely glued onto the shoes and that sort of thing. You can tell they did have an icy blue outsole, and it is starting to yellow just a little bit, but because it was icy blue to start, I think that kind of slows down some of that oxidation and some of that yellowing that we see so often on the translucent gum outsoles. But getting a good look at the outsole, it's all herringbone traction pattern under the forefoot and the heel. We have the 1 cent emblem that we associate with Anthony Hardaway, and then the perimeter is just that icy blue translucent gum outsole. But you can tell it is starting to oxidize a little bit, but it doesn't look bad. I actually kind of like the way that it looks with it aging like that. In the midfoot, like we see with so many other basketball shoes from that era, mostly Jordans, we do see that it has that carbon fiber. Carbon fiber also wraps up to the side of the shoe as well. And then that's where we meet this really noticeable kind of loud Foamposite shape. It's all in a white color, kind of mother of pearl, but I really like the way that it looks. And I feel like with just this white, black, and blue, it really is easy to wear. I don't know if I'd be able to wear the Galaxy foams as easily as I can wear this pair. I also really just like that it was originally a PE, and then they dropped it as part of this pack in 2014. I don't know if they've ever released this Foamposite by itself. So people that are more into Foamposites know more of the history about them, let me know that. But I just really think it's cool that I was able to grab this pair of shoes. They're still in really good condition, even though they're a decade old. But I think it's easy to wear, and not a whole lot of people have these. Even back in 2014, I don't think a lot of people had these, simply because of that price point being $500. That's steep. That's steep now. So imagine that over a decade ago. I already mentioned, but around the eye stays here by the laces, it's like a black overlay, and we have these little stars on there. We also see a little embroidered swoosh in a blue color. On the back of the shoe, we see that 1 cent emblem. The tongue is all like a mesh material. It feels like it's nice and stretchy, like it's got a lot of elasticity to it. At the top of this blue tongue, you can see that 1 cent emblem again. Then we've got these loops that help you pull the shoe on. It reminds me of like a Jordan 6 or a Huarache or something that has the sock kind of inside the outer shoe that really hugs them onto your feet. Like I said, I've heard that they're really tight, but I think this pair feels really comfortable. They are a half size bigger than what I normally go, but I do think that I can wear these without any comfort issues. And I also don't think I have to worry about them falling off because they have that nice sock there that'll kind of secure them down on my foot. It came with blue laces in it, didn't come with any extras or anything, and it's a rope style lace, but it kind of reminds me of SB laces because it's kind of like an oval shaped rope style lace. So that was a pretty quick look at these Foamposite ones. I also have this pair of little pennies here. I'll show you those real quick, but this is what I was most excited for. This pair is more wearable to me, but I also think there's some really cool parts of this Lil Pennyposite as well. All right, so this one is called the Lil Pennyposite. It feels a good bit lighter than the Foamposite ones do. I didn't notice that before, but they're definitely lighter than the other pair. I tend to gravitate more towards white shoes anyway, so the Foamposites are what I would wear more, but there's a lot of details on this that I think are really cool. On the back, they have this really bold kind of jewel emblem, and it's got a little swoosh there at the bottom, but again, we see that royal blue color, and again, the color scheme goes with the Orlando Magic. We also have that jewel on the inside of the shoe. Much like the other pair, we have herringbone traction, only we have it kind of in pods underneath the forefoot and underneath the heel, and it's in that royal blue color. Then again, we have that icy blue translucent outsole, which is starting to yellow, so it is showing a little bit of age, but I think it looks kind of cool, the color that it is. A lot like the Foamposite pair, these are all like synthetic types of materials. It's not like we have any real leather or premium suede or anything, but it all has a different texture to it. And these kind of look big and bulky, but they're really not. The shape of them really reminds me of some of the early Shaq pumps, like the early Shaq Reebok pumps. It might be the color, but also just kind of the big bulkiness of it. It really does just remind me of some of those Shaq pumps. And I like that because that does just remind me of nostalgic pairs of shoes. The upper is pretty rigid on here. You can press it and it does move, but it's not real soft or anything. And the base is one style of finish on it, but then it's made to look like it has these overlays on it that have another finish. It's kind of shiny, and if you look real close, it has a whole bunch of little lines kind of etched into it. Maybe my favorite touch on this pair are the little stars that we can see on these overlays. And I hope it comes through on video. There's also a little swoosh right here on the front, but I think this being the Shooting Stars pack, I think it's really cool that they have all these little stars on there. I think this whole pack was made to celebrate Penny's time with the Orlando Magic. I don't know if these came out around All-Star Week or not, but I think it would make sense if they did. You can also see a bunch of those little stars on the heel as well. On the back, we see some flight font like we're used to seeing on other Nike shoes. Then on the loop, we see the 1 cent logo like we see on other Anthony Hardaway shoes. This tongue is all black mesh at the bottom, but the top of the tongue feels like a synthetic leather. And then we see an outline of Lil Penny there at the top in a blue color. Also says a Lil Penny just below that in blue letters. These laces are black and they've got hits of reflective through them, which I think is a nice pop. All right, so that was a look at my recent pickup of this Shooting Stars pack from 2014. Getting this pair in hand and trying them on feet and seeing how they look with baggy jeans. I really do want to try to get the Galaxy Foams. I did tell my buddy that I would go for them in his size, So that's still what I'm going to do. If I'm able to get him, I will hook him up for retail, just because I feel like he did me a solid hooking me up with these at such a bargain price. $250 for these two pairs of shoes when they first retailed for $500 over a decade ago. You can't beat that with a stick. But I plan on rocking these just when I want to switch it up a little bit, and I hope that I get some wear out of them before they fall apart. Let me know what you think about these. Let me know if you'll be going for the Galaxy Foamposites. I appreciate you all watching tremendously, and I will catch y'all on the next one. I'm out.